Good afternoon to you. Mark Sutton with HurricaneTrack.com. Here it is Thursday, the 19th of May, 2022, and you've tuned into the Hurricane Outlook and Discussion. Today we're going to talk about what's going on out there. Is there anything to worry about, anything brewing? We know the GFS has been trying to cook something up. Finally, it has sort of let that idea go. We've talked about that the last couple of days or so, and it's time to move on. Let's look and see down the road a piece. Is there anything brewing out there? That's the topic of today's update. Anything brewing in the tropics? So let's see. First, let's start over here at our good friends Storm 2K. Always a healthy set of threads to see what people are talking about. And I'm going to scroll all the way down here to the bottom. This tweet here that was mentioned by one of the posters there at Storm 2K. We'll expand it and pop it up on Twitter itself. This is from Kim Wood, Dr. Wood, over at Mississippi State University, I do believe. Oregon to Arizona to Mississippi, and I believe she's over at Mississippi State. But this is a great reminder that yes, the Gulf of Mexico is warmer than normal, but much of the main development region, the MDR, is near normal, and certainly below 26.5 Celsius, which is pretty much what most scientists agree is the number needed water temperature wise to get development, and much of the Atlantic. Just generally, it's, the whole Atlantic basin just quite isn't ready yet. But anomalies and even sea surface temperatures themselves don't tell the whole story. We know that. We're a pretty educated group here, I'm sure. And all of that is not enough by itself to get a hurricane, or a tropical storm or anything. The warm water is just part of the overall ingredients package. So this is a very appropriate and timely tweet from Dr. Wood. So scrolling back up a little bit, we'll go back to this tweet from Ben Knoll in just a minute. There's a shot of the loop current in the Gulf of Mexico. There was an article yesterday, I think it was yesterday, that came out down in New Orleans, and I'm not going to talk about it too much. You probably saw it, making a lot to do with the Gulf of Mexico and the loop current and comparing 2022 to 2005. And it's just very important to note, and I say this often, the Gulf is always going to be warm enough for intense hurricanes. I mean, maybe 2010 was one of those years where some weird things were going on and it was a little bit cooler. I think even at peak season it was still warm enough. You don't need to have significant anomalies, departures from normal, to have your Katrinas, your Ritas, your Idas, your Michael, whatever. A lot of it has to do with the atmosphere. And if the atmosphere is really cooperative there and conducive, you can get these intense hurricanes. And the Gulf of Mexico is usually warm enough. And yes, the loop current does help to sort of concentrate that warmth. It's a recycled area of high upper ocean heat content, and it plays an important role. I don't want to diminish that, but looking at this and writing stories about it that, oh goodness, this could be like 2005, believe me, people in Louisiana, they don't want to hear that. Ain't nobody got time for that, as they say. And this is a great tweet here from Andy Hazelton. He's talking about the different looks to the sea surface temperature patterns. And it's this Canary Current over here in the eastern Atlantic and the main development region that really correlates to an active season. And that being said, we go to this and look. Now, this is just part of it, but it's very warm. MDR is just about normal, a little bit warmer in some parts, but the Canary Current right here east of the Iberian Peninsula, very much warmer than average, and that is what helps to make a very active season. Yes, the Gulf of Mexico is quite a bit warmer than average, especially the northern Gulf. You can see the loop current even tucked in here, but that alone is not enough to give us hurricanes. It does help to bring moisture. We've talked about this a lot. You get a big high sitting out over the western Atlantic. The return flow around that high pumps copious amounts of moisture into the lower 48. You get these troughs that come through. Hopefully they tap that, and you can get some rainfall. You need it. And in fact, it would be nice if we can get some moisture to come back over here towards West Texas and the desert Southwest as a whole. We got to wait for the monsoon for that to happen. Story for another day. So some interesting stuff here that people are talking about at Storm 2K. And we're going to come back in just a minute and revisit this tweet from Ben Knoll. Let's get rid of this one and move along real quick. All right, so satellite imagery, clearly Upper level winds not cooperative right now. That's what you would expect in May. And lots of southwesterly flow. The shear is there, the dry air. You can even, how do you see dry air in this particular satellite imagery? Well, the lack of clouds. There's got to be a reason behind that. There's some kind of capping going on. When we say capping, it's like the atmosphere has a lid on it. It's capped. And in this case, a warm layer going across the Atlantic, the Saharan air layer. It's warm air that literally just gets blown off of Africa from the African easterly jet. It's a phenomenal piece of meteorological beauty that this can happen, and it puts the kibosh on development because you have to have cold air over warm air so the warm air can be buoyant and go up into that cold air. We call that instability. And when that warm air caps the atmosphere, plus it's laden with dust and other particulate matter from the Sahara Desert, you don't get development. And that's common this time of year through July, even the first couple of weeks of August. And I predict a lot of people will be posting Saharan air outbreak maps, images, animations, and claiming, the whole, I wonder if this is going to thwart the hurricane season. Make no mistake, when we get to late August and beyond, it is almost a guarantee that we're going to have a very busy season. It's that's why I say almost. But early on, we do get the dust outbreaks, and that's sort of my point here. And also my point, it's nice and quiet. A little bit of convection, thunderstorm activity where there is some instability in and around Central America, and then a little bit of storm activity percolating in the southeastern Pacific. But most of the energy still in the higher latitudes up here. A little piece moving off of New England. This is a mesoscale convective vortex. Just a fancy way of saying large, but not too large. Mesoscale, meaning definitions aside, it's not like the size of a huge winter storm, but it is rotating. That's why it's called a vortex. There's some energy here with an old front. Nothing at all concentrating down in the tropics. So no worries there. What else did I want to show you? We covered this already. Anomalies are pretty strong. Oh yeah, the wind shear. The tendency, all this red you see through here, that's all increasing shear. And I showed you that from the satellite animation, and here on the shear map, it's just increasing everywhere. It's not time yet. It's mid-May. So when would things potentially get busy? Well, let's expand this tweet out of Storm 2K. And we have Ben Knoll, always a great soothsayer, and he's looking into the future. We really like that, a sage of what's coming. He knows what to look for. Let's get rid of me. Rather see Ben on there because we're talking about Ben. Looking ahead, tropical forcing. What does that mean? That's the upward motion, to put it in simple terms, will likely return to the Atlantic during the first half of June. It'll be interesting to see if this next pulse generates some activity. And then there's that word, a critical word in all of this. Climatology would suggest the Western Caribbean and Gulf of Mexico are the areas to watch. So as we get towards the end of May and into early June, the JMA, Japanese Meteorological Agency, the 200 millibar velocity potential suggests, I think this will let me stop the animation. It did. That's awesome. There's all that forcing right there. And this is into the first part of June. That's the 3rd through the 10th. And that coincides with the official start of the hurricane season. So at this point, if we start seeing the models, the GFS and others, spin something up, it's more believable because it's shifted into the climatological window of when it's supposed to happen. Then the other ingredients start to matter. They're there, so they become more relevant. And added to this, the modeling is seeing the upward motion that would foster development, that would allow that cap to kind of be lifted. You could still get dust and other inhibiting factors out there, sure, the shear and all that, but large scale, this is what we're looking at as we get into early June. That is our window of when something could potentially develop. All right, moving on along to severe weather. Today, it is still severe weather season. It pretty much is 12 months out of the year. Conditions are ripe. But right now, springtime, early summer, whatever you want to call it, it's meteorological summer anyway. We do want to keep track of severe weather. And today, the enhanced and slight over here kind of stuck in that same kind of pattern. Iowa, Minnesota, Wisconsin, your area, they had me in a slight risk earlier, but they've taken that away. It's just hot and muggy out here. I could really tell the dew points are higher. But now up through Tennessee, at least extreme northern Tennessee, a lot of, if not all of Kentucky, Missouri, Illinois, Indiana, parts of Ohio, just this general region through here. You can see the map. That's where the severe risk is for today. Tornado threat, not zero, but not real high. More chance, 3 in 10 chance of some damaging wind. That could be a problem. And the hail threat, most significant in parts of the Midwest there, Wisconsin and Minnesota and parts of Iowa. Moving ahead to Friday, that's tomorrow. Slight risk over here. I bet this is going to be some big hail producers in parts of Oklahoma and Texas. Beautiful area. I was just there. I keep harping on it. It's so magical out there. And then Michigan, you have a slight risk tomorrow. Cold cold Great Lakes temperatures around you don't keep the severe weather away. So just a heads up for tomorrow and the different risk factors. 5% in Michigan. Pay attention, folks. And there's even a 2% area here in parts of Maryland. I would call it the interior mid-Atlantic states. So pay attention to that on Friday, all right? And then going into the weekend, this will get modified. We'll probably see some slight risk areas added to this in the mix as we get to Saturday. Again, it is severe weather season, so pay attention. Moving out ahead, New England, way up here, northern New England, gets in on the act. What was that, day 4, I think it was? Yep. And then days 5, 6, 7, and 8, probabilities are too low. However, let's get me back real quick before I get out of here. Looking ahead, I think the end of May and into the early part of June, as that favorable upward motion pattern comes in, it's also going to harbinger, I think, a pretty big severe weather threat over the Midwest, and thus our opportunity to get back out there. We've got a couple of really unique ideas to add to what we just went out there and tested. I'll talk more about that later. Some really unique stuff coming up. So just heads up, I think when we get past Memorial Day, I'm seeing some signs that we could see a pretty nasty bout of severe weather right in the heart of Tornado Alley, all right, just as the hurricane season starts. So be ready for that. We'll talk about it as needed. All right, so we've updated the connect and follow graphic. Thank you, Kari, for that. I do appreciate it. Big thing I want to really make sure you know, the people behind the funding and a lot of our ideas and equipment, that's through Patreon, a wonderful crowdfunding mechanism. Go to patreon.com/HurricaneTrack. You can get their app. It's a wonderful app. It's like our own little social media world. We're on Discord through Patreon. It's great. That's how you can support what we do, from $4 to $100 a month, or whatever fits your budget. And whichever tier you want to get involved with, we do a lot with it and would love to have you. We're on social media, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, Spotify. That's coming. Now TikTok and Instagram. We're going to wrap it all up together. And I've talked about this before recently here. On June 1st, I'm going to be doing What's Up in the Tropics with Mark Sudduth, a 90-second or less update each and every morning. We're going to try to do the whole 180-plus days of the hurricane season. It's either 186 or 183. Like if you added June 1st to November 30th, I think it's 183 days, something like that. Let's see if we can do 183 in a row. And again, seriously, if there's nothing going on, I can take 90 seconds, probably 30 seconds, and tell you that. Hey, look, nothing happening out there today. No hurricane outlook and discussion needed. Go to the beach, go on vacation, do whatever you got to do. Don't worry about the tropics. We're not going to waste time looking at nothing if there's nothing to talk about. But each day, I do want to do these discussions, or this discussion. I can do one video, succinct, to the point, nice and easy, quick in and out. Throw it on those 6 different social media platforms. And, of course, our Discord and our Patreon. They get it first. So look for that. That's coming up on June the 1st. I'll remind you as we get closer. All right, let's get me back one last time. Good to see you all again. I appreciate it. The graphics, the thumbnails, everything, we're trying to keep them dynamic and different. Not too clickbaity, but also just a little bit more interesting and different. Just to keep people involved, keep them engaged. I just have one request for you. Like the videos. We know there's the algorithm thing going on. You got to like them. If you don't like them, that's okay too. Not everybody's going to like what I do. That's fine. I'm old enough to be able to accept that. But look, if you do like it, show that like and support. Share it. Put it on your social media. Tell people what we're doing. That's how we can grow and we can get bigger and do even more stuff and continue impacting people in positive ways, talking about the weather centered on hurricanes. All right? Have a good rest of your Thursday. As always, thanks for giving me a part of your day. I'm Mark Sudduth for Hurricane Track. I'll be back with you tomorrow.